Now, the other thing that we need to do is acknowledge that throughout the day, we go through an accumulative process of storing negative energy from emotions that arise and thoughts that we have, situations that we have to deal with, and we don't process them. We don't have time to process them in our busy society. It doesn't allow us time to process anything. So by the time we get to the end of the day, we are stressed out to the max. We've got emotions stored up left, right and centre, and thoughts all crowding our minds, and we're wondering why when we sit down to watch Netflix at the end of the night we're absolutely exhausted. And it's really no wonder, because we're dragging around all of this accumulated unprocessed stress, emotions and thoughts and pain, and then we go to sleep and our bodies have to deal with all of that stress and process it all while we're asleep. And that's what it tries hard to do. That's why it's important that during the day we take a little bit of time out to decrease these symptoms of stress, decrease these emotions that flare up, reduce and eliminate all these, as many negative thoughts that come into play along the way as possible as well. And you can either do this sporadically throughout the day when they come up, which is what I used to do. When I started to feel angry, I'd think, oh, I'm angry, I'm going to use EFT and get rid of that. And then I'd start thinking about something and it would make me feel negative, and I'd think, oh, that was a negative thought. I think I better tap on that, and I'll tap on it and it will be removed. And I had a lot more energy to go through my day, and I felt a lot more clearer and a lot more at peace each time I did EFT and got rid of another one and another one. And then by the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you feel more like you can deal with whatever symptoms you have on your plate a lot more effectively, rather than letting it build up and then you have this whole tray of negativity in front of you, and you really don't have the energy to deal with it now. You just want to go to sleep. I would suggest starting by just getting used to using EFT just as often as you think about it, because it won't be all the time to begin with, but even if it's once or twice a day, it will have a huge effect on you, and then you will be able to think to yourself, that really helped. I'm going to do that again. And slowly and surely, if you are having results with it, then you will do it more eventually. And it is a bit of a time process thing. You don't snap into it and start doing it 100 times a day. That's not how it works. That's not how we work as human beings. We're slow to incorporate things, and then we're slow to develop routines in using them. These are all techniques that you can try out, see what works for you, and you'll find that it will really work for you for this, but not so much for that, and that's okay. Just use it for whatever you really find beneficial for you. Now, EFT doesn't have to take long. It can just be a 1-minute cycle of just getting rid of that anxiety before your work interview, or tapping on negative thoughts after you've had an argument with your spouse or your child or whatever. And just little bouts of EFT, when you remember, will go a long way into reducing stress around your relationships with the people that you're reducing these symptoms around. You'll find your relationships are better, and you're able to tolerate your children's idiosyncrasies better. You'll have more clarity in your mind. So all of these things, they don't take long to reduce, but the effect can be massive. So if I have like 5 or 10 minutes spare, and I think, okay, now would be a really good time to deal with that bit of stress that I had this morning. If you're not able to do it at the time, then these little pockets of time, you can sit down and say to yourself, now what's on my mind, what's bothering me at the moment, or what emotions are being stirred up in me today, and just clearing that, clearing any emotions, clearing anything that happened that pissed you off, or clearing any negative thoughts about what might happen in the future, what might happen this afternoon or tomorrow or next week, whatever's on your mind. Now, I also recommend a really good way of clearing symptoms is to do it while you're doing housework. And the reason I say this is because when you do housework, you're on autopilot. You're not thinking about what it is that you're doing because it's autopilot tasks for you. And while your brain is in autopilot, it stirs up underlying emotions. I used to get very irritable and angry doing vacuuming and cleaning and that sort of thing. And it wasn't because I hated cleaning. It was because that was my underlying emotion that I was carrying around with me. And so what I'd do is I'd stop and I'd use the tapping to reduce whatever I was feeling while I was doing the housework. And in that way, it would actually stop the negative mind movies and chatter that would persist as I was doing these tasks. Because quite often it is the emotion that comes first, and then it's the emotion that's there that's underlying, that's creating these negative thoughts. So often when you just tap on the emotion that you're feeling while you're doing housework or whatever it is that seems to bring them up, it will often stop the thought process in that direction as well, which is a real big blessing because it's exhausting doing cleaning anyway, let alone doing cleaning while you're in an angry or fearful or anxious state. It would be nice to be able to just put on music and enjoy listening to music while you're cleaning the house, rather than having to deal with all these underlying thoughts and emotions that come up. So that's just one thing that I thought I'd share with you because it was very valuable to me.